Hello people, my name is Jay Beetle and I'm going to teach you how to make a ladder in Hammer for any TF2 map you might want to make. So it's really simple, you just have to think about it a little bit differently than other games. We'll start out with a little box, a brush that's 192 by 192 and 256 units tall. This is important for the tutorial, but you really don't have to keep to that for your actual ladder. So we're going to start out with bringing in two ladder models like you would find in 2Fort. So you want to make a prop static with the entity tool and find your ladder model by typing in ladder in the filter and finding it and applying. You don't have to do that again to make the second one. You can just hold left click and drag while holding shift click drag to make a duplicate right above it, and that'll be our main ladder. That's what the player will see. And if you want to group it together, just control G, and no matter what, it'll always be one thing. So you want to make it against, we're going to get from the floor and use the ladder to get up here in the map. So you'll want to spin it 90 degrees by hitting Control M and changing the Z value of rotate by 90 degrees. And we'll just kind of put it up against the wall. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're going to adjust it later anyway. So next comes the part that the player will actually walk on, but he won't see it. So we want to start with making a really small brush using the brush tool or the block tool on the right, and just using this as a reference. Make it as long as the ladder and about as well. It doesn't matter how tall it is. That actually does matter. It has to be 16 units, so each foot won't be on here, but no one will notice that. So what's important here is it has to be 16 units tall. That's the tallest a player can step up with a stair. But the tallest or the smallest they can stand on is 1 unit. So crank the smaller grid button or use left bracket to go all the way down to 1 unit. So down in the bottom right corner it says on grid 1, and that's just really tiny. You almost never want to use that for other than for very small detailing work, but for this we will. So we have our brush that is 16 units tall and 1 unit thick, and however many, I have it 32 wide, and we'll just create it. Now it's important that the player doesn't see this, so we will turn it into a player clip texture. So the player will run into it and walk on it, but they won't see it. So with the whole brush selected, it'll be red tinted. You hit Shift A to open up the texture tool and browse to find the player clip texture, and you'll just type in player clip into the top, and it'll show up one way or another, and then you just apply it over everything. So that's our first step, our first rung of the ladder that no one will see. And then after that you go into the viewport that is of a side view, and we'll just move this out a little bit so it doesn't overlap yet. Now we just hold shift and drag up the height of the brush and over 1, and after that you just keep piling it on up the staircase. I mean, that's really all it is a staircase, holding shift click and duplicating and making sure they're all 1 unit next to each other. And we do that until we get to the top of this platform that we made. And there we go. That's all of them. And I'm just going to select them all and group them, so when I click them again, I won't have to click all of them. So you just select them all and hit Control G. So now we have what the player will use. Technically, it's not even required that this ladder be here. We just want to make it look like it's climbable. Otherwise, you just walk into it and it instantly start climbing an invisible ladder, and you don't really want that. So now we're in this view here, and this is where we want to align the model texture to kind of look like you're climbing it instead of you're several units away. So for that, you want to select the model and click on it once in this view, in the bottom left view, and click and drag the little circle on the bottom until you can you can rotate it. That's how you rotate it. And so what we're going for is for the model to be parallel to this little stack of player clip textures, more or less. And that looks pretty good. So then the only thing left to do is to bring it up close as you can to the player clip brushes, so it's not overlapping. You can adjust it more if you want. More than likely, unless it's very obviously badly done, your player isn't going to notice whether their feet stick into the ladder or not. And that's all there is to it. To make a ladder, the player, as you can see with the compiled version, you will just walk quickly up the ladder. That's why I have to warn you that in a normal map, in a standard map like T2 Fort or any custom map that's trying to be serious, you probably don't want this ladder. You can get to higher grounds practically faster than you can rocket jump. It's not better than a ramp. So in those situations you would use a ramp. But maybe in a spawn room where it won't matter, or maybe in a trade map or something like that. I don't know, a screw around map. These are pretty fun to do. Avanti has one. That's where I got the idea. So that's all there is, other than you want to make sure that this is sort of close. Since there's not that much of a gap, you won't notice it, and you'll still walk on the ladder, so it should be okay. Thank you for watching. I'll try to do more tutorials like this.